Okay, so we're going to have Keys to Serenity.
Yes.
Brenda Ryan, thank you for being here, and Sunny Mathews.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And we have such a limited time. I want to get to know about you individually. And can you just give us a short version of your life?
Yeah.
Okay.
I lost my daughter 6 years ago to an overdose of fentanyl. And she left behind a little boy named Wyatt. And I was left in, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know we didn't have the resources available to pay for her funeral, to how to get custody of my grandson. And I knew that if my daughter had to die, I did not want her death to be in vain. I wanted her death, if she had to die, then I needed to do something in her honor. And I started Keys to Serenity. I'm helping other families. We're in the midst of 2016 when all the carfentanil deaths were happening in fentanyl here in Summit County. And other parents were in the same predicament that I was in. So I started off with small donations and helping those families. And then I knew that there was more to just the addiction plaguing our city. We also, you know, this is a family disease, and there's kids left behind, and there's kids that have parents that are addicted, and they're impacted. So I decided to kind of focus more on the children impacted by addiction. And that's why we started Keys to Serenity, and we're working with children that are impacted by addiction and families that are impacted by addiction.
Wow. Wow. And Sunny, how did you?
I met her in the community. We met at community events, heroin and fentanyl overdose forums. I worked for the legal system. I'm a law school graduate, University of Akron. And so I was very involved in the legal aspects of it and spoke at some rallies that she attended, and got to know her organization and the work she was doing. And I'm grateful that she was like, be on my board, and be in charge of events, because I'm kind of bossy. And so I get the pleasure of helping to put together some of the community events that we have in the community. And like, for instance, we just took some kids to the movies. Everything was paid for. Parents got to come and participate and have that moment with their kids. We've done giveaway fruit and vegetables. We've done all kinds of great events that are geared at children. Jump with the Bunny for Easter, and they got to go to one of the little local jump facilities. And just the whole, for me, I think what I love about it is life can be really heavy, like you said at the beginning, and you need a little laughter sometimes. You need a little joy. And for these kids, they don't always have that. And so to be able to provide these families a chance with joy, and then on the side say, you can get help. Mm-hmm. Your mom and dad can get help. Your sister can get help. Whoever is impacted. I just love it. I love being able to do this with Brenda.
It's beautiful. So I have 3 friends who have addicted adults, and I think all 3 of them are not.
They're in recovery?
Yes. And the thing is, but they keep going back to recovery, and then, you know, that's such a drawback. But thankfully, but one of them needs dental work. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, what do you do for the addict to help them? And well, Sunny, you and I were talking about,
yeah,
you have to wait till they want to get help. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we all probably just like, let me help you with your dental work. And it's like, you can't help the addicts. And that's hard. And you've experienced this.
Absolutely.
And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So one thing people have to understand is addiction is a lifelong disease. Mm-hmm. It is not something that you get recovery one time and you're, you know, oh, they went into treatment. You know, they've already tried that. I've seen people 3 and 4 and 5, even 6 times go through treatment. It is a lifelong disease, and the opioid addiction is one of the hardest, I believe, to stay, you know, on the straight and narrow and stay sober. A lot of relapses, and that's actually what happened to my daughter. She was doing very well. Then she had she had Wyatt, and she was doing really well. And one short, a very short time of a relapse ultimately led to her first and fatal overdose. It's very common for relapses.
So how do you deal with that every day? Because it's just so hard. Because you.
It is. A lot of heartbreak. I deal with a lot of families, you know, one-on-one, because sometimes only a mom that has lost a child can understand what that loss is. And so I get a lot of 1 o'clock in the morning texts and phone calls, and just try to, you know, love on these moms and, you know, try to take them out of that depression. I have moms that are just curled up on, you know, in a fetal position in their bedroom floor. They just can't function. I chose to turn my grief into advocacy. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm strong, and I feel like I'm the mother of those mothers I want to protect and nurture. And you know, and then, yeah, and one of the things I wanted to say with the children too, one of the reasons we do these programs too, is to give these children a day of love and, more importantly, connection. Yeah. Because we don't want them to feel that they're the only ones that are experiencing their parents in addiction. Because we're not dealing with just children that have lost a parent. We're dealing with children that their parents are incarcerated, or their parents are sick on the streets in substance use disorder still. So we want those children to understand they're not the only ones, that there's a lot of other, you know, having a sense of community and knowing that they're not in it alone, I think helps tremendously for the love and connection.
So how do you connect with these children?
So how do we get the children to come? So through CSB, through
What's that?
Children's Service Board.
Okay.
Through
social media,
through
word of mouth.
Yeah.
Brenda has built I mean, like I said, I met her in the community. She is on the ground. I've seen her at homeless camps talking to people. So she is very involved in the work that she does. And I also think a lot of it is the kids telling their friends. Mm-hmm. I had the one experience where there was a family that I knew personally, and I knew that the mom had struggled before. She had dental problems as well. I knew something was up, but I didn't know exactly what was happening. One of her children went to school with my daughter, and that's how I met her at the school. Well, then she comes to one of Key's events, and it kind of clicks that the mom has been struggling. It kind of clicks. And the little girl says, I don't know who I can talk to at school about this. And now I know I can talk to you.
Oh my goodness.
And we are providing safe space for them is enough for me. We are expanding our program. As her son gets older, we're seeing what he needs. We're seeing what other kids, we're seeing what this little girl needs. And we are expanding our services, hoping to provide youth and teenagers with paths to not follow in their parents' footsteps, because it is a generational thing.
Yes.
So we are starting programs for teens.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the work that we get to do. It's ever growing.
Yeah.
It, you know, meets the needs meet people where they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask you, you know, you've got a heavy load on both of you. Are you able to duplicate yourselves? Because sometimes, you know, you were talking about taking a call and this woman's all curled up. Do you have like a hotline, or how do they reach you when they're actually in an emergency?
So we're
working on that.
Yeah, we're working on that. We basically, when I have family members that call me and say, hey, I have a child in active addiction, I have resources that I can resource out to them. And you know,
people know when Brenda calls, you pick up.
Yeah. And I am also a certified recovery coach too, so I can, you know, place people into treatment and whatnot. But there's a lot of people here in Summit County doing that. We have a lot of resources for that. So that's why I stepped away from that. Be like, what about these children? What about the children that are impacted? Who's taking care of these children? Who's helping these children? There was nothing out there when I started, nothing for children. And that's why basically, so when I do get phone calls of emergencies with somebody that needs treatment, I have resources that I connect them to.
Wow.
So, and the parents are fine to send the kids with you?
Well, we do this as a family when we do these programs, because two reasons. One, we have, talking about kinship, I'm a kinship provider. I have custody of my grandson till he's 18. So we have a lot of kinship. We have grandparents raising these grandchildren. even the parents are just sick on the streets in active addiction. We want to have something. All our programs are completely free, and the reason we do that is because a lot of these grandparents are struggling financially. My husband's 72 years old. He's retired. I'm trying to retire. I'm going to be 59. Kinship providers do not get the money that foster parents get. We get very little. And so financially, we wanted to make this free for these parents, for these grandparents, and we have parents that are in recovery that maybe get to spend a day with their child. Maybe they have, supervised visitation, or maybe they've got their children back in their life and their finance. So we wanted to have things. We always invite the parents or the caregivers or whoever's taking care of these kids and give them the free, services, whether it be food and entrance
Ice
into,
skating.
things like that. We always include the family. So they don't just drop these kids off, they come as families.
Wow.
So you mentioned fruits and vegetables and all kinds of things. One of the shows that we've done recently was on food insecurity. Mm-hmm. And of course, you're dealing with that. So do they go to food banks, or do you provide?
So we just, once in a while, you want to tell them about the food?
Yeah. So we do programs that are geared at Easter, that are geared at Christmas, some of your major holidays that you would fellowship around food, around the table. Mm-hmm. And we've provided meal bags that'll include a gift card to get your meat, boxes of mashed potatoes and all of that good stuff, bread, all of that. And we have been very blessed to have help from the local food bank, folks who know that the food bank is available to us that we could use, that kind of tap into that network for us. We've also done, we always provide food at our events, like actual food for them to eat at the event, but also food to take away. And I think—
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think
is.
just connecting them is important.
No, this reminded me of a young girl I know. She was, didn't always get fed at home. So she goes somewhere, like an event or whatever, pile up. She's never could eat it. I mean, she's just a little kid. I mean, under 10.
We have a story.
Yeah, okay.
We had a little young boy, and we were doing our event. We give these kids a backpacks to carry their, stuff around.
We get so much free stuff.
Yeah, and we give free stuff and, arts and craft. And I see him, and he's got, 16 cans of Cokes and this little, and I said, hon, we can, you don't have to have all those Cokes in that's going to hurt your back. And he's like, I'm like, you don't have to. And he's like, no, he says, we don't have nothing to drink at home. And I says, let me find your mom. Tell me where your mom is. I'll hook you up at the end of the event. And so we hooked them up with some Kool-Aid and a bunch of pop to take home afterwards too. But it was so cute.
He's like, I need this.
She's like, well, we have water. That's good enough. And I'm like, well, we'll give you the pop and everything that we're left over. So yeah.
Sometimes you want something different than water.
That's
I mean,
right.
It's just human nature.
I think it's about the connection too, because like the little girl that I had the pleasure of getting to know better, and that kiddo, there's always at these events, Brenda and I try to take the time to get to know some of the families, and the connection that we get from these little interactions with these kiddos is what makes it worthwhile. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of them, they don't get those same connections. And then to see those connections with their families, we did a jump with a bunny, and there was an Easter bunny, and there was a kid who was afraid of the bunny, and then his brother and sister weren't, and the mom was like, I don't have any pictures of my kids with an Easter bunny. And then the little boy was like, Mommy, I'm going to do this for you. Mm-hmm. And just to see them fellowship and interact with each other in a way that is completely supportive and in kind. And I know if this parent does not end up, because not everybody survives their addiction, as we know from your daughter, Sheena. If they don't make it, we have created a memory for that child that is positive.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm here for that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're working on kinship too. Mm-hmm. Doing kinship, providing kinship support, because that's really important too. We have so many of these grandparents raising grandchildren and aunts and uncles, and there's just not much out there for help for them too. So we're going to start doing kinship support groups, meetings at our office starting next month.
Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed the video. To see more like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button below. Get all the latest content from TCT Ministries. We'd love to pray alongside you for God's blessings in your life, so you can email your prayer requests to prayer@tct.tv or click the link below and submit your request at tct.tv. God bless you and thank you for watching.